All right, we now shift focus to the US. Can Donald Trump mend ties with America's closest allies? And that's one of the most pertinent and the big questions as G7 leaders gather in France for a summit, from trade disputes and Ukraine to the West Asia and Middle East crisis. World leaders are hoping to narrow the differences with Washington and rebuild transatlantic unity. A crucial meeting between Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump. It is also now on the cards. Now, the picturesque French town of WION may be known for its natural mineral water, but this week it's set to host some high-stakes diplomacy. As G7 leaders gather on the shores of Lake Geneva, one man is expected to be at the center of these talks. That's US President Donald Trump. European leaders are arriving with a clear objective to bridge the growing divides with Washington and restore momentum to strained alliances. Relations between the US and several of its traditional partners have been tested recently by disagreements over trade, tariffs, Ukraine, and global security. Now, the world leaders are hoping that the summit can help rebuild consensus among the world's leading democracies. One of the biggest challenges will be finding common ground on the war in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky is expected to join these discussions as leaders seek a united approach to ending the conflict and even bringing Russia to the negotiating table. Now, the Middle East will also loom large. That's West Asia. It's definitely going to be discussed over the summit. With the Iran-Israel conflict, the Iran-US conflict rattling global markets and disrupting shipping routes, leaders are expected to discuss efforts to secure the Strait of Hormuz and maintain energy stability. Trump is also going to hold a bilateral meeting with the Indian Prime Minister and other leaders from France, Qatar, Egypt, and UAE. And the timing of this meeting between PM Modi and Donald Trump, it couldn't be more vital. From trade talks and energy security to tensions in the Strait of Hormuz and the attacks on Indian crude vessels, the two leaders are expected to discuss some of the biggest geopolitical challenges facing the world today. With global tensions running high and several unresolved issues hanging over India-US relations, both countries have recently shown signs of improving ties. There is still plenty to discuss. Trade is expected to be one of the biggest talking points. Negotiations for an interim trade deal are progressing, with both sides hoping to conclude the first phase as early as possible. The meeting will also provide Modi and Trump an opportunity to assess the progress made so far and even identify areas where further negotiations may be needed. India's Trade Minister, Piyush Goyal, last week said that the first tranche of a bilateral trade agreement with the US could be concluded by mid-July. India is pushing for preferential tariff treatment as part of these negotiations on an interim trade deal with the US. While the trade tensions between the countries are likely to be another major flashpoint between Trump and European leaders who want progress on global trade imbalances. While Trump continues to push his America First economic agenda. Despite the differences, both sides recognize the need for cooperation at a time of growing geopolitical uncertainty. For Trump, the summit presents an opportunity to reassure allies and even reassert American leadership. But for Europe, it's a chance to close diplomatic gaps before they widen even further. Whether the talks produce real breakthroughs, well, that remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, that the spotlight in WION will be firmly on Donald Trump. What he says next, what he does next. However, for India, the Prime Minister and PM Modi and Trump, the meeting, it offers a chance to strengthen a critical partnership while addressing pressing concerns. And with the world facing multiple crises at once, the conversations in France could have consequences far beyond the G7 summit hall.